The Wicked movie is one of my most anticipated movies of this year, and just like everything that I become obsessed with and excited about, it has to be my entire personality. I'm even wearing my Wicked sweater right now, which by the way is a part of the Paul Tazewell Target collection that I was in the campaign for. Crazy, I still can't believe it. That was such a surreal experience. So yeah, if you want to match me, you can get it at Target. But in addition to getting all the merch, listening to the Broadway soundtrack, there is a very important thing that I think needs to be done. There's a lot of lore behind Wicked, and I really encourage you to do a little bit of a deep dive before the movie so that it really hits for you. But to sum it up, the movie is a reimagining of the Broadway show and The Wicked book by Gregory Maguire. I actually got the opportunity to watch the show in New York City at Gershwin Theater last year, but I have never read the book until now. I'm just so excited for the movie for a myriad of reasons. Ariana Grande, Cynthia Erivo to name the top two, but I want all the details to just really hit for me, so I thought, why not count down to the movie by reading some original source material. But I'll be honest with you, I am a little bit nervous because I've been seeing some stuff online about reading Wicked for the first time, about how parents shouldn't let children read Wicked. I have no idea why, but I guess we'll find out in this vlog. So shall we do what fangirls do, get into the book, do a ton of themed things to help amp up the experience, and answer the question, are people born wicked? Or do they have wickedness thrust upon them? Oh, and by the way, I'm Melizza, and this is my channel. This was news to me, but there is actually a sequel to the Wicked book called Son of a Witch, and this book has both of them. I borrowed it from my bestie Jeremy, and it is a beautiful, beautiful book. The pages are sprayed gold. We've got the Broadway artwork, and this metallic cover, and it's leather, and it has one of these like Bible bookmarks. That's what I call these. And while this book is beautiful, I have actually been reading it on my Kindle because it's on Kindle Unlimited. But I got a few chapters in, maybe like 4, and I'll be real, I don't really know what's going on. I think the problem is that I was reading it before I fell asleep at night, and this is brain on writing. I really gotta put in the effort to understand the world. So instead, I'm gonna start from the beginning with the audiobook. And I'm not listening to anyone who says that audiobooks aren't reading. That's a little bit delulu in my opinion. They are literally called audiobooks. And I really like that you can do other things while listening to audiobooks. It just makes it feel like a very productive experience. Oh, the audiobook has the updated Cynthia Erivo, Ariana Grande cover. And girl, this is 19 hours, 42 minutes. I fear that if I were exclusively reading the physical text, it would take me much longer than that. I'm hoping that listening to the audiobook kind of sinks me into the world pretty quickly, and that way when I go pick up my Kindle again, I am prepared and I can follow along much easier. I thought we should start off this Wicked reading / listening vlog with something equally as exciting. So I'm baking some Galinda inspired cookies. They're going to be a pinwheel recipe where one half is the regular vanilla sugar cookie color and the other half is pink. So hopefully they turn out yummy.
Update, these are very young.
So we have read/listened to part 1 of Wicked by Gregory Maguire. Okay, let's get into my thoughts. Let me start by saying I knew I wasn't going to be reading like a play-by-play of the musical, but I still wasn't prepared for what I was reading, despite all of the warnings and all of the don't let children read this. Apparently, I haven't gotten into anything like that yet. If you're a parent, maybe do your own research. I'm not a parent, so I can't even speak to that. But I can tell you that this is just not what I expected. So there are a total of 5 sections, if I can read Roman numerals correctly. And the first one is called Munchkinlanders. And the whole first section is basically about Elphaba's parents, her birth, and then her early upbringing, which, if you are deep in the Wicked fandom, you have definitely seen the trailer where they feature little Elphaba in the movie for a few seconds. When I first saw her, I was screaming. I was so excited to see baby Elphaba. And now after reading part 1 of Wicked, I am terrified. I am nervous for our girl. Part 1 does a really good job of painting the not so great picture of how she came into this world and how her parents treated her. From the jump, they are not here for it. They're like, this girl's skin is green, something is entirely wrong with her. And these are her parents. And that is how everybody treats Elphaba. We see that in the show. We're seeing that in the movie when Ariana Grande is like, oh, you're green. So this was the very beginnings of that. I'm really glad I'm listening to the book because I feel like the story is sinking in much better. But even while I'm listening, sometimes I'm like, what did they just say? Like, what does this actually mean? And there were a couple times where I had to like back up 30 seconds and re-listen to make sure that I understood and hear what was in here. I'm sure this book is not that difficult for everyone, but apparently it's challenging for me. But I do feel like it's going to get easier now that I've got an idea of the world. They also do describe Oz, and there is a map in this book, so it's much easier for me to visualize. I'm a visual learner. It's still making me very excited to watch the movie because it will be a blend of both the book and the musical. So I'm excited to see what elements from the book end up making their way into the movie, how much of this we're actually taking, and how much we're relying on the musical. On another note, I went to Target and found the Wicked coloring book. I thought it would be fun to color some pages in here while we continue listening to the book because I have a feeling I'm going to end up listening to most of this book, if not all of it. And I feel like this would be a great activity to do while we do that. So, shall we? Section of the book, and it's fun to see her core personality from the musical because that's what I'm most familiar with, is rooted in the book, and it's just like really refreshing because it feels like a character that I already know and love, but we're getting a little bit more backstory, which is always great. And I'm just imagining Ariana Grande as Glinda in my mind while I'm listening to the book, which makes it 10 times better because I love Ariana Grande. We're going to keep listening, but I thought it would be fun to do a Galinda-inspired spa time, self-care time, just an excuse to use my cute Wicked rubber ducks. Pointed head. Part of the reason I'm so excited for the Wicked movie and why I wanted to read the book is because the world of Oz is so whimsical, which makes sense because we're talking about literal witches here. So there's magic and there's talking animals and all that stuff, but even just the language that they use is so fun. So to give you a taste, I'm gonna read you a very important poem from the book, a quell, if you will, so you can kind of get a taste of what Oz sounds like. And this poem is actually really important to the story. I won't spoil it for you, but maybe you can kind of see why. Alas for impropriety, the guillotine of piety, to remind society, indulge not to satiety, indulge not to satiety, in mirth and shameless gaiety, choose sobering society, behave as if the deity approaches in its mystery, and greet it with sonority. Let your especial history be built upon sorority, whose virtues do exemplify, and social good thus multiply. Animals should be seen and not heard. So after Galinda's chapter, we have a whole chapter dedicated to Bach, which I'm actually really excited for because with every section of this book, I'm just learning even more about these characters, which makes sense. I can definitely see why somebody would think that this book was great material for a musical because these characters are so specific and quirky and are a little bit more intertwined with each other's lives than they think that they are. So yeah, I don't want to give too much away in case you want to read the book as well, which honestly, I'm kind of loving. I'm not really understanding the warnings that we got beforehand, but I don't know, maybe there's something shocking in Bach's chapter. So I have an update. I really like how the alcohol markers make the coloring pages look, but a simple question, at what cost? Because look at how badly that bled through to the next page. Like this page is completely ruined. No coloring Dr. Dillamond for me. That would have been really cute. In conclusion, I like them. I will not be using them in this coloring book anymore though. And another thing, I got my own copy of Wicked by Gregory Maguire, the movie poster edition. I went to an independent bookstore here in Orlando called Authentic Books and she happened to have a copy, so I swiped it right up. And I'm really happy to have the movie poster version. The movie is why I was inspired to read the book anyway, so it's very fitting for my library. We are right here. I believe this is the point where Wicked Part 1 will end, judging off of the Broadway show. And I'm pretty sure, I don't know if it's been said, maybe it has been said already, that they're ending on the song Defying Gravity. So knowing the musical, I know like what has kind of taken place up until that point. And this is pretty much the matching spot in the book. So my thoughts, if I had to stack this on a bookshelf in a store, I would put it in the young adult fantasy section, obviously, because they're in college and they're in a whimsical world of Oz with witches and magic and sorcery and animals, talking animals, so fits right in there to me. I will say this was written in, I think, like the early 1900s, fact check me. So not only is the language fantastical, it's also not modern, so for me it took a little bit more brain power, maybe it won't for you. This book has done exactly what I wanted it to do, which was make me even more excited for the Wicked movie. I'll talk a little bit more about the plot in just a second, but I have to say that knowing that the movie is a combination of the book and the musical, now having read the book is like, I feel like I have the ultimate power of the universe. I feel like a lot of times when people's favorite books get turned into movies or TV shows, the first thing they say is like, oh, they had to leave this out, or like they didn't talk much about this, and like whatever. That makes sense because typically like if a book takes you 6 hours to read, a movie is only 2 hours, right? So hold that thought. At the same time, the musical show I think is maybe a 2-hour show in totality. Wicked Part 1 is only the first half, the first hour of that show. I'm pretty sure the Wicked movie has a runtime of around 2 hours, so that is double the amount of time spent on the same scenarios from the Broadway show with information from this book. Guys, like, I'm so excited. The character development, I just feel like is gonna be really good. I have my hopes really, really high. Maybe you can feel some of my excitement. If you don't have any, feel free to take some of mine. I got plenty to give. And I feel like doing all the Wicked themed activities along with listening to the audiobook was just the full fandom experience, which I am always here for. Okay, let's talk about the actual like contents of the book. Spoiler free, pretty much. The great thing about books is that you really can get into a character's mind and just understand their perspective so deeply, especially if it's really good writing. And I feel like I truly understand Glinda and Elphaba and like reasons why they act the way that they do. Even the musical versions that we are more familiar with, like I understand why those characters are the way they are and why they have their quirks and why one of them's kind of funny and one of them's a little bit more cynical. I think I'm just falling more in love with the world of Oz and the world of Wicked, and I kind of just want to keep going because I know there is so much lore, not just behind Wicked, but behind the world of Oz, and it's like, am I gonna open this can of worms? Which I just might. I'm always looking for something to become obsessed with. As far as the content warnings that I was seeing before starting this book, listen, I'm halfway through and there's maybe 1 to 2 things that I would flag as like, if you're a parent, maybe you should know about it. Like it really isn't much. I feel like a lot of people that I saw online had said that they read this as a teen or like a young kid, and they're fine. So So that's my parenting advice. Plot-wise, very similar to the musical, in my opinion, as far as like big plot points. The book really shines in those minute details right now for me and just seeing the deeper character relationships. But as I said, we are right here, right in the middle of the book. And I think I'm gonna wait to read the second half until next year. If you don't know, Wicked the movie is in 2 parts. We get part 1 this November 22nd. I do have a countdown. We get the second one right around Thanksgiving of next year. And then I can do even more themed things. Maybe I won't bake cookies this time. Maybe it'll be brownies. Who knows? We'll find out in the year. Overall, very excited about it. If I had to give it a rating, what would I rate this book actually right now, being halfway through? I would give it a solid like 3.5. Is it my favorite thing I've ever read? No, but it has a lot of the things that I like to read. So those are my thoughts on Wicked by Gregory Maguire. To be continued. That's all for this video. Don't forget to subscribe and I will see you in the next one. Bye.